Have you been practicing looking up the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in your Bibles? If you have, that will help with your first activity sheet. It's a birth certificate. You'll notice that there are blanks with verses next to them to help you find the answers to the blanks. Can you guess whose birth certificate this would be for? Well, it would be for Jesus. Did you know that long before Jesus was ever born, that people were looking for him? They were looking for him because of prophecies or special messages from God that talked about a Messiah that was to come. A Messiah was someone who would deliver God's people. A Savior. A Savior is one who rescues people. And in the case of Jesus, would rescue people from their sins. When Jesus was born, some of the first people to look for him were shepherds. Sometime later, there were wise men who also came to offer him gifts. We don't know how many wise men there were, but we do know that there were 3 gifts that they brought to Jesus. As the wise men looked for Jesus, they also spoke to King Herod, and King Herod looked for Jesus too, except King Herod did not look for him for a good reason. You'll understand that with your next activity. When Jesus was 8 days old, his parents brought him to the temple, as was required, and there they met a man named Simeon. Simeon had been looking for Jesus for a very long time. There was also a woman by the name of Anna at the temple. She had also been looking for Jesus. And did you know that even at one point, Mary and Joseph, his mother and earthly father, looked for Jesus as well? All of the pictures that I've shown you are in the packet that was sent to your mom and dad. And Mom and Dad, I want you to take each of these pictures and just lay them out on the table where your kids will be able to find them and see them easily all at one time. I've also sent to you a page that looks like this. You'll want to cut it apart on the solid lines. And kids, don't peek. Mom and Dad, I want you to put it in places all around the room. And then, kids, once your mom and dad has finished placing them in places all around the room, you can come out and look again, and I want you to read what this says. Read what it says in the Bible verses that are listed there, and then match them up with the pictures that your mom and dad has set on the table. And that will teach you a good bit more about some of the people who started looking for Jesus from the time that he was born. Well, I want you to understand also some of the places that Jesus went to even while he was very young. It starts off with a little town called Bethlehem in the area of Judea. Bethlehem is the place where he was born. From there, when he was 8 days old, his parents brought him to Jerusalem, just a bit north of Bethlehem. That's where the temple was. And you'll learn more about that situation whenever you find Anna and Simeon in the little activity that we just finished up. Well, when King Herod started looking for Jesus also, his parents took him from this area of Bethlehem and Jerusalem all the way over to Egypt to keep him safe while King Herod was looking to do him harm. Later, he moved way up here to the area of Nazareth, and so there would be times that he was considered a Nazarene because of the area of Nazareth. By this time, his parents would travel from Nazareth back to Jerusalem once a year in order to worship at the temple, as was required. But it was one of those events while he was at the temple that Mary and Joseph lost him, so they were looking for him too. I want us to turn in our Bibles together to the book of Luke. That's where we're going to find the situation where Mary and Joseph lost Jesus. We're going to look in Luke chapter 2, and we're going to start with verse 46 and read through verse 52 so that we can see what happened during those events. Luke chapter 2, verses 41 through 52. Listen up as I read. Every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the Passover feast. When Jesus was 12 years old, they went to the festival as usual. When the festival was over, they went home, but Jesus stayed in Jerusalem. His parents did not know about it. They traveled for a whole day thinking that Jesus was with them in the group. They began looking for him among their family and close friends, but they did not find him. So they went back to Jerusalem to look for him there. After 3 days, they found him. Jesus was sitting in the temple area with the religious leaders, listening and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and wise answers. When his parents saw him, they wondered how this was possible. And his mother said, "Son, why did you do this to us? Your father and I were very worried about you. We have been looking for you." Jesus said to them, "Why did you have to look for me? You should have known that I must be where my Father's work is." But they did not understand the meaning of what he said to them. Jesus went with them to Nazareth and obeyed them. His mother was still thinking about all these things. As Jesus grew taller, he continued to grow in wisdom. God was pleased with him, and so were the people who knew him. Think about the answer Jesus gave to Mary when she said, "We were worried. Why did you do this?" And what was it Jesus said? He said, "Didn't you know that I must be about my Father's work? I must do the job that my Father gave me to do." Even as a very young boy, Jesus understood that God had sent him to this earth for a very special and specific purpose. Let's look for a minute at our memory verse. This tells us what Jesus came to the earth for. Let's think about it. Let's look at the words and see if we can understand them. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. Luke 19:10. You see, all of these people and many others had looked for Jesus, but they didn't necessarily understand what Jesus had come to the earth for. But this memory verse tells us he came to seek and save the lost. Well, who were the lost? They were all of the people of this world that had been separated from God because of their sin. Jesus came to earth so that people could find their way back to God again and have a right relationship with God. Jesus was the very Savior that God had promised. You see, while Mary and Joseph thought that Jesus was lost and they couldn't find him, Jesus knew that God had sent him to find people who were really lost. That means it was Jesus' job to help people restore a relationship with God and have a right relationship again. That relationship starts with us joining together with many people all over the world who have looked for Jesus as their Savior and Messiah. As we study our Bibles together, we'll learn more and more about Jesus. And then, not only will we be able to find him, but we can also learn how to obey and be faithful to him. I look forward to joining you in many lessons as we learn about Jesus and why he came to earth and how important he is as our Messiah as our Savior so that we can live our life for Him. Until I see you next, practice studying your memory verse and be prepared to learn together with me about who Jesus was and what are we supposed to obey and why Jesus is so important to us and every other person on this earth. I sure hope you have a good week. I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, bye now.